Another gut punch series for the Yankees as they lose 2 out of 3 to the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field. So coming out of the All-Star break, same issues still plague the Yankees, and they now sit in last place in the AL East. They are tied with the Red Sox at 50 and 44, but technically they are in last. They are in last, and look, I know maybe that's a bit misleading. Obviously, a team 6 games over 500 is not typically in last place. For reference, obviously, that would be in first place in the AL Central. That's because of the new schedule and the fact that it's more of a balanced schedule and you're not playing your division much. With that all being said, though, the Yankees are in last place. They are in last place in the division. As I record this, the Yankees sit 2 out on the loss side of the final wild card spot. By night's end, that could stay at 2 or that could drop to 1, depending on what the Astros do against the Angels, and the Yankees will be playing the Angels next. But just a terrible way to lose this series. We'll try to get through games 1 and 2 pretty quickly and really dig into game 3, not only for the recency of it, but the fact that this was a game the Yankees had, lost it, had it again, lost it for good. And you just can't have that. But again, am I that surprised? Not really. In looking at the 6-game trip, 3-3 seemed most likely, and that might be where it is at best. I'm not sure if I said this last episode in projecting this 6-game trip. I don't know if I did, but to me, 2-4 was almost more likely than 4-2, and that's exactly where we sit. The Yankees lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, and against the Angels, I think at the very best, you're winning that series 2 out of 3. There's a very good chance that you don't win that series. A very good chance with the way the Yankees are playing. And, look, this season is at a crossroads right now. And, we'll see where things go. There's a lot of season left, but it's just not looking very good. A big thing that came out of this series that I want to just first touch on is that Josh Donaldson went on the injured list. He had a calf issue that we saw, kind of flare up. And I think it explains why he was DHing a bit. And he was the DH the first 2 games of this series. And I think that he's been dealing with this, and it finally just gave out in game 2 of this series. And Oswald Peraza was called up. And some good and some bad from Peraza in that last game. I guess I'd say more so good than bad. But he was called up and did make an immediate impact. And could have been a hero, actually. Could have been one of the heroes of this final game of the Rockies series. But Peraza up, Donaldson on the IL. And could this be the last that we see Josh Donaldson as a Yankee? I guess it depends on the severity of this injury. If it's in any way severe, this may have been the last time we saw him, or this may be something that isn't all that serious and we see him again. But obviously, either way, been a massive disappointment. Josh Donaldson as a Yankee has been awful. This was also the return of DJ LeMahieu going back to Colorado. And for DJ, a pretty good series. Am I still somewhat skeptical that he turns around a little bit? But I'll keep it positive with DJ. He looked better. And look, as you should at Colorado in a hitter's park. And the Yankees offense did struggle this series. I mean, don't let the final run totals sway you. The Yankee offense is still a major problem. DJ, though, was a bright spot in his return to Colorado. Let's go right into this. We'll talk along the way about this series. As I like to say, please subscribe below. It would be greatly appreciated as we continue to dissect all things New York Yankee baseball. So Carlos Rodon, start 1 I thought was good against the Cubs. Start 2, not as good against the Rockies. The final line isn't horrible, but still not nearly good enough. He ends up going 5 innings, gives up 4 runs. And, it was the second inning that did him in, and then a home run to a Yankee foe who we'll talk about. So starts out good for the Yanks. And Gleyber Torres, who has been really the most consistent Yankee hitter all season. And for Gleyber, there were no mental mistakes. I give him credit. This series, no mental mistakes. Don't say that often, so I'll call it out when it's good. But Gleyber was 3 for 4 on this night, and he starts it out with a single. And then Giancarlo Stanton, who had looked good before the break, continues the good showing as he hits a no-doubt homer. It's his 10th homer of the season. A 2-run shot gives the Yanks a 2-0 lead. So And Giancarlo, that's good to see. Seems like he's coming around. Is he all the way there yet? No. But you like what you see, right? In terms of the players we've talked about, I think out of all of them, Giancarlo is the furthest along. So that makes it 2-0 Yanks, and they wouldn't score again. So 2 nights in a row, actually, after a Stanton homer, Yankees don't score again. The difference was in game 2, the Yankees had scored 6 runs. But still, the Yankees went 12 straight innings with no runs. And that is hard to do. Again, this offense continues to amaze in all the wrong ways. And so the Yankees take a 2-0 lead there, but in the second, Rodon runs into trouble. And you could see that he didn't look good. Before it went all wrong, you could tell he looked, I don't know if it was the altitude or whatnot, but he looked a bit gassed to me. And with first and second one out, Tovar gets an RBI single, but then he's almost able to get out of it with the Yankees having the lead, but he doesn't. Brenton Doyle gets a 2-run double to give the Rockies a 3-2 lead with 2 out in the second. And could a regular left fielder, not Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, have made this play? Maybe. It was still hit well. Kiner-Falefa probably took a circuitous route to the ball. And either way, Rockies take a 3-2 lead. In the third, you get a chance for Harrison Bader, who by the end of the series was better, but I thought didn't look all that good here. And for Bader, I feel like he's been struggling lately, but to give Bader credit, he's usually coming through in the big spots, and that is still true. I think Bader still remains definitely one of the clutchest players on this team, but he doesn't come through in the third. Then in the bottom of the fourth, it's that Yankee nemesis, Randall Grichuk, hits his 5th homer of the year, but he kills the Yankees. Now, he might be dealing with an injury because we saw him in this game. He was pinch hit for, and I think that might have been strategic, but then he could have maybe pinch hit in game 3, didn't, so he might be battling something. And then also after the game, read that Mark Feinsand is reporting that that the Yankees might be interested in Grichuk. He brought up Cody Bellinger, which we've heard of, and obviously that's more of a bigger deal. Both of these guys are impending free agents, but Grichuk, I was kind of thinking to myself, obviously he's with the Rockies right now, so he's not hurting you like he did when he was on the Blue Jays, but it's like, you know what? Just get him so he can't hurt you. But it's actually ironic the fact that Grichuk, I don't know, I don't think that Grichuk is the fit, really. I mean, as a right-handed bat, Bellinger way more so. So if you do get Grichuk, to me, that's a different level of acquisition. That is more of like a replacement for, let's just say, like a Kiner-Falefa or some of these depth guys. McKinney's and Corderos and guys like that. Not so much like an everyday starter, but I digress. So in the, and I should also mention, it's a joke that Austin Gomber was able to really get through this game. And he's been better lately, but Gomber has been awful this season. And he ends up going 6 innings of 2-run ball. And then in the third game, Chase Anderson, 5 innings, no runs. And he's been one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So that is unacceptable on all levels. So, like I said, Gomber settling in, doing a really nice job. And then Michael King comes on in the 6th. And at first it looked good. King with a scoreless 6th inning. In the 7th, Pierce Johnson goes 1-2-3 versus the Yanks. And at the bottom of the 7th, King almost goes 2 innings scoreless, but he doesn't, because he allows a 2-run homer to Chris Bryant. So Chris Bryant, who's not having really a great season, hits his 7th homer of the year. Gives the Rockies a 6-2 lead, and that kind of felt like it was over at that point. So Michael King, the struggles are definitely still there. He's shown some good things. It's not all been bad, but Michael King, the guy that we saw maybe a month or two ago is not quite there right now. And he throws 41 pitches, and so he was unavailable the rest of the series. Daniel Bard pitches the 8th, gives up a 1-out single to Torres, but otherwise gets the job done. Albert Abreu gives up a homer in the 8th to Nolan Jones, and that wouldn't be the last that we'd hear of Jones in the series. Rockies take a 7-2 lead. Justin Lawrence gets into some trouble, and it hits a point where it's first and second, 1 out, and Billy McKinney swings at a pitch in this at-bat, and it hits him. So that was frustrating. McKinney really has fallen off in a big way. Also, Franchi Cordero had a pinch hitting appearance that was ugly in the 8th, where he had, a clock violation as well. So Cordero and McKinney, really not great bench options. And that's just where the Yankees are at right now. And that's where even guys like Jake Bauers and Malik Calhoun being out, you kind of hope that they can return. And I think in the case of in the case of probably both of them, they're probably not too far off. But again, not a huge deal. But anyway, The Yankees do lose this one. McKinney eventually strikes out looking, and then Volpe lines out. Yankees lose game 1, 7-2. Seems like the Yankees have lost a lot of game ones, and it just seems like in general Fridays, these Friday night games, I don't know, maybe it's just a feeling. They don't seem to play well in those spots. So game 2, the Yankees do win, and that seems to be happening, where the Yankees seem to be in so many rubber third games, right? Where the Yankees either win 2 out of 3 or lose 2 out of 3, and it usually comes down to a rubber game. Like, these first 2 games are getting split, and that happens again. Clark Schmidt continues his good play. So Schmidt goes 6 innings plus. He actually pitched in the 7th inning. I think it was the first time all season he did that. Gives up only 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. And for me, the theme of this episode was potentially going to be about Clark Schmidt and Garrett Cole. But that, was not going to happen because of, the Yankees absolutely, sort of imploding bullpen-wise in that third game. But Schmidt does a really good job again, and after a really bad first month, and I guess, I can't remember if it went beyond April. It was really April, maybe a bit into May, has really been, honestly, the second best pitcher behind Garrett Cole. I know Domingo Germán threw a perfect game. I know that Germán has had his good points. He's been all right. I mean, Germán has been solid. But in terms of just sheer consistency, it's been Clark Schmidt. And I know that there might be an innings limit for Schmidt, but I really would, I would keep him in that rotation as long as I can, considering the state of it. And he's been one of the best guys. So Yankees take the lead early again, and the Yankees got to Connor Seabald. So out of the 3 pitchers, all of them were bad, the starters for the Rockies series, but Seabald was the one that the Yankees did actually get to. Leadoff triple by Gleyber Torres. I thought that the outfield defense, or just defense, the defense in general for the Rockies was sloppy, basically all series long. The Rockies were trying to have the Yankees win this series. The Rockies are not a good team. Like I said, they're better at Coors Field. The Yankees didn't really catch a break with the scheduling, but still, Colorado's defense was terrible. And the Yankees' defense really wasn't all that much better. Wasn't horrible. We'll talk about bad base running in the third game, but let's get through the second one. And Gleyber Torres triples, and then Stanton with an RBI groundout gives the Yankees a 1-0 lead. In the bottom of the first, however, a bit of an unlucky go of it for Schmidt, and it leads eventually to a balk that scores a run. I'm not going to talk about the things that happened before that, but it's a balk, and it ties it up at 1. But the Yankees get put up a 5-run second inning. Leadoff double by LeMahieu, which was poorly played by Nolan Jones. Then with 1 out, a bloop single by Bader, a walk by Volpe, and then a sac fly by Higashioka. So Higgy, with a nice at-bat there, gives the Yankees a 2-1 lead. And then Gleyber, good piece of hitting, RBI single, 3-1. And then the big blow, Giancarlo Stanton, his 11th homer of the year, a 3-run shot, opposite field, gives the Yankees a 6-1 lead. And that was all for the Yankees. They would not score again, but luckily the pitching was good, and so they didn't need to. Let's jump to later on. Let's jump to the 7th inning. And in the 7th is where Josh Donaldson grounds out, and he's limping and hobbling, and he's on the IL now. So again, Donaldson will be out for the foreseeable future. And in the 7th, it would be Schmidt to start the inning, which I agree with. He was really pitching well, but C.J. Cron homers. And you'll hear from C.J. Cron again in this series, but Cron homers, his 8th homer of the year, makes it 6-2. And then Wandy Peralta comes on. Wandy Peralta pitched well. Wandy looked good in this series, and so that's good to see, as Wandy had his struggles, but it seems like he's turning it around a bit. Let's jump to the bottom of the 8th. Tommy Kahnle comes on, and Kahnle saw his first struggles in the series. The former Rocky, who had not allowed an earned run yet this season for the Yankees, finally did. Wasn't terrible in this 8th inning, but there was a double by Profar, a wild pitch, which I thought could have been a pass ball on Higgy. And if it had been a pass ball, I don't think it would have been an earned run on Kahnle as things turned out. Either way, you get a double play that leads to a run by McMahon, and that's all. So it's 6-3 at this point. Then we go to the bottom 9th, and Clay Holmes does allow a 2-out single to Tovar, and then he is able to get the final out, gives the Yankees a 6-3 win, and the Yankees tied up. And let's talk about Game 3. Game 3, the rubber game, and on paper, you had to like from a Yankee perspective, Garrett Cole versus Chase Anderson. Does not get more lopsided than that when you look at the stats. And Garrett Cole was great. Allowed 1 unlucky homer in the 2nd inning, I believe, and that was all. Look, of course, would you like Cole to go more than 6 innings? Yes, but it's because he got 11 strikeouts. Cole, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 11 Ks. And so for Cole, just continuing. I mean, he is in that Cy Young conversation. He absolutely is. He should have had his 10th win today. He did not, so he still sits at 9-2. But 134 strikeouts, 123 innings. He is just about as reliable as they come. And so Cole deserved better on this day. So, the Rockies take the lead first for the first time in this series, and it would be Toglia. I believe that I might be pronouncing that wrong. The G might be silent. Either way, it's his first homer. Was it his first homer of his career? Let's see. No, it was not. He had 2 homers last year. But either way, Rockies take a 1-0 lead. And then, Anderson went 5 scoreless. And I'm going to talk about Anthony Rizzo here. I have not brought him up yet, but I need to talk about this. Anthony Rizzo, with the bases loaded, 2 out, flies out in the third. He is now 0 for 25 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position this season. That is crazy and totally unacceptable. And it's at about 13 or 14 strikeouts. I think maybe 13. It's 13 or 14 out of those 25 outs are strikeouts in those situations. Anthony Rizzo has been awful. Awful. I mean, 41 games and no homers. Completely unacceptable. And I really feel like he's getting a bit of a pass from Yankee fans. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but again, does Donaldson deserve boos? Absolutely. Absolutely. But Anthony Rizzo's been horrible. Absolutely terrible. Do I think he can turn around? Yes. I am someone who does think highly of Anthony Rizzo, but let's just call a spade a spade. Ever since that collision with Fernando Tatis, he has been a joke. Not bad, a joke. So, I mean, at best, he's going 1 for 4 with a single in these games. So, for Rizzo, he really needs to turn around. He has been bad, and I think if there's one person that I look to in terms of, okay, when I look at the Yankees' offensive struggles, who am I looking to in terms of what has been bad since Judge has been out? It's Anthony Rizzo. I'm putting the blame on Rizzo fully. Does it mean that I'm giving a break to LeMahieu? Absolutely not. Donaldson? Absolutely not. Stanton? Absolutely not. And others. But Anthony Rizzo has been bad. Really top and that's got to turn around. If it doesn't, Yankees are going nowhere. So the Yankees are still down 1-0. We go to the top of the sixth. Top of the sixth, Jake Bird replaces Anderson, and Jake Bird was a little unlucky. Yankees get 3 runs thanks to some really bad defensive play by the Rockies, but they get some singles. LeMahieu single, Bader single, and then Connor Falefa with a single. These were not all that hard hit. And on the Connor Falefa single, they try, what happens here? I guess good base running by Bader. And they try to get him out of third, he's safe. And then it was McMahon, I think, that throws to no one at first. And so Bader scores and Connor Falefa goes all the way to third. A totally ideal situation for the Yankees. What should have been 1-1, first and third, 1 out, ends up 2-1, runner on third, 1 out. And then Volpe gets lucky. It's an RBI ground out, but it was bobbled by Tovar. And so it allowed Connor Falefa to score at the out at first. So Volpe got lucky. And for Volpe, he has cooled off a bit of late, but still, hopefully it's nothing too bad and he can sort of get out of that. But Cole goes 6 strong. Then Peralta, 1, 2, 3, 7, like I said, doing the job. And then the 8th inning is where things unravel. And this is where the disaster begins. So Tommy Kahnle leadoff walk to Profar. You can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. So he walks Jerkson Profar, and then he gets a strikeout, a 1-out single by Tovar, and then Bryant flies out. And then the unlucky part happens here, where McMahon dribbles one to third, and they have no play. And so it's bases loaded, 2 out, and this is where I start questioning Boom. I can't kill him for it, but I think it would have been fine to leave Kahnle in for Cron. Now, and why I say that is, lifetime, Cron was 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts versus Kahnle. Kahnle's pitch count, it wasn't a pitch count issue. Let me see. I think it was maybe, 18 pitches? 18 pitches for Kahnle. So that wasn't the issue. They just wanted to get Holmes in there. And again, I can't kill him. I know but that's a tough spot. That's the problem. And Holmes, who has control issues, not as much lately, he falls behind in the count to Cron. And on was it a 2-0 or? Yeah, 2-0. It's Cron, grand slam. Dead center field, grand slam, CJ Cron. And there you go. So a combination of Kaley and Holmes, and again, I think Boone deserves some blame here. It makes it 5-3. Rockies. 9th homer of the year for Cron. We go to the 9th. The Yankees, give him credit, they battle back against Daniel Bard. And again, it was self-inflicted wounds by the Rockies more than anything. McKinney's the pinch hitter, and McKinney is hit by a pitch. Then Glaber with a lucky infield single, but to make matters better for the Yankees, it's a throwing error by McMahon. He should have just eaten it. Instead, it goes past the first baseman, and so McKinney scores and Glaber goes to second. Then Stanton just gets under it, but it's a successful out as Glaber moves to third, 1 out. Then Rizzo walks. I was worried about what might happen there. Rizzo does walk, and then Peraza pinch runs for him, and then steals second. Pretty big stolen base right there. And then they intentionally walk LeMahieu, which as a Yankee fan, I'm thinking, you know what? I think I'd rather Bader up than LeMahieu in the spot, and it kind of works out as Bader gets a game-tying sac fly. However, bad base running by Peraza as he gets thrown out at third. I understand what he was trying to do there, but you can't make the third out of third. That's a bad job and bad base running, and so it's 5-5. Then we go to the 9th. I would have had Clay Holmes start the 9th. I know he pitched the night before. For me, somehow, you kind of wanted to have this be a Holmes-Hamilton situation and out of there, but that did not happen. Holmes threw 8 pitches. Again, I would have had him start the 9th. However, Hamilton was pitch efficient. He only threw 10 pitches in the 9th, goes 1, 2, 3, and so he would pitch the 10th. Top of the 10th, Matt Cook comes on, and bad base running by Harrison Bader. Connor Falefa hits one back to the pitcher, and they get Bader out at third. Also a bad job by Aaron Boone, where Bader's out at third, and just call for the review immediately. It's the 10th inning. Why leave it up there? But he calls for the review too late. And look, I think he was going to be called out, but that's still bad managing, and Boone admitted that. And so, bad base running as well by Bader. You can't make that first out at third, and then Volpe double play. So it's looking bad for the Yankees, but give Ian Hamilton credit, who for me is now back in the circle of trust. Ian Hamilton, who did not look good out of the break, to me, definitely in that sort of 4 or 5 pitchers circle of trust in the bullpen, as he is able to escape out of the 10th. So we're tied. And then Gavin Hollowell comes on. And this is where this could have been a feel-good win, because Oswaldo Cabrera, this might have been Oswaldo Cabrera's best game of the season. Now, I'd have to think back, but a really good game for Cabrera. And hey, he might, with the injuries and whatnot, look, if Cabrera has one good hot stretch, he could be in the lineup. So I'm calling them the Oswald twins. Oswaldo and Oswald come up with 2 big hits. So it's an RBI single by Cabrera. He then steals second on a strikeout by Higgy. Then a fly out to Glaber, intentional walk Stanton, which I understand with Peraza on deck, but Peraza smashes an RBI single, a really, really big hit to give the Yankees a 7-5 lead. Then DJ lines out to right. That could have been a big extra run or 2, but Bryant makes the play. So it's 7-5 Yanks, and they go to Nick Ramirez. This is where they were fucked, because they had no one really good. Now, as bad as Marinaccio is, and he even made it worse, Marinaccio has been awful. I thought they'd go to Marinaccio. They treat Nick Ramirez like he's a lefty specialist. He is not. He has been terrible versus lefties. He is not a lefty specialist. He is a bottom of the bullpen scrub. Honestly, that's just what he is. Albert Abreu, Nick Ramirez, and Ron Marinaccio are all in that category. Now, by the end of this inning, I can't really complain with Ramirez being in there because Marinaccio has been horrible. Anyway, lefty, Ramirez, Nolan Jones, 2-run homer, Nolan Jones. 7th homer of the year. And so it is 7-7 in the 11th. Then he gets a couple of outs, and they bring on Marinaccio. And it's at that point, it's they really view Ramirez as a lefty specialist. At that point, fuck it. Let Ramirez face Trejo, but fine, whatever. Marinaccio comes in, and it's Trejo's first homer of the season. Let me see. So many fucking first homers for the Rockies on the season. And so it's a walk-off off of Marinaccio, who, again, has been bad. Marinaccio has been a major disappointment. Someone who was good last year, who was good early this year, has really fallen way down the pecking order. And the Yankees lose. They've been terrible in extra innings the last couple of years, especially on the road. So I think they dropped to 1-5 in extras on the road this season. So now let's talk about this Angels series real quick. Luis Severino takes the bump tomorrow versus Griffin Canning. And for Severino, if he does not pitch well, he might be out of the rotation. He's 1-4 with a 7.38 ERA. I think if he pitches all right, I think he kind of has to get bombed to be taken out of the rotation. But if he does, I think he will be. But if he pitches, I'm trying to think of the comparison because Sevy, there's really been no in between. If it's like a Red Sox outing, and even maybe a little worse, then I think that he stays. But I think Sevy, like his rotation spot's on the line. And so Sevy versus Cannon, game 1. Game 2, it'll be Domingo Germán against the lefty Patrick Sandoval. And then the third game will be Carlos Rodon against TBD. Now, could that be Shohei Ohtani? Maybe. But I do find it curious that they don't have it listed. Ohtani would be in line to start that. He threw Friday against the Astros. And so we'll see what that is. But the Angels, who have been struggling for the most part lately, they're hovering. I mean, again, they're playing on Sunday Night Baseball as I speak. They're tied with the Astros in the 4th inning. And so they are right around 500. And they really have not been all that good lately. Mike Trout's injured. But I don't trust this Yankee team to do anything great. I hope they take 2 out of 3. And so that makes it salvages the road trip. Because again, like I said, my expectation was 3-3. So that's still in play. But either way, things are just not good right now. You got 2 weeks or so a little more than 2 weeks until the trade deadline. We'll see what happens. But the Yankees, they are in last place in the American League East after another gut punch series as they lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies. And now they will go to California to take on the Angels.